Mark Hamill playing a certain character in the Netflix The Witcher TV show is getting closer to fruition. What a time to be alive. Lauren Hissrich, the showrunner for Netflix's The Witcher, has been doing some interviews, and she's been talking about season 2, not only when to expect it, but what to expect in it. And also, she talked a little bit about Mark Hamill playing a character. And Mark Hamill seems to be on board, so I'm going to talk about that last, even though I'm most excited about that. So first, let's talk about when you can expect to see season 2 of The Witcher. So originally, Lauren said that they were shooting for the end of 2020, but then they realized, hey, we don't want to rush this, so now they're saying expect The Witcher season 2 sometime in 2021. So this is what Lauren had to say with why they went from a 2020 release date to a 2021 release date for season 2 of The Witcher. The truth is, The Witcher is an enormous show and it takes a long time, and we realized that in season 1 we were smashing down a lot of the post-production process. And we want to make sure that everyone on our team gets the time to do their job and do it to the best of their ability. So we're making sure we have a lot of built-in cushion time for season 2, so we don't cram anything in at the last minute. I definitely think there is some valid criticism if you want to talk about some of the CGI in season 1. I mean, definitely the story of Jackdaws was a little janky with the CGI, so I understand her reasoning of, okay, a lot of people really love season 1. This is becoming more popular even than Stranger Things on Netflix. We need to do this right, and we don't want to rush anything. We want the best story possible. But on that, she actually has the scripts already written for season 2, and right now they're fine-tuning them. So she mentioned that the pages are a living, breathing thing, and that they're going through some changes during pre-production. And here's a quote about the season 2 scripts. "Now is really the time that we do the fine-tuning, and we make sure that we're telling the story the right way, and that will continue happening through July. It's an ongoing, organic process." So if you follow Lauren, you know one big problem about season 1 is that the scripts were way too long. They were feature movie length, and so when it came to editing, they had to cut out a bunch of stuff, a bunch of dialogue, some relevant things that maybe could have helped people understand more what was going on. So her goal for season 2 was to write shorter scripts so they didn't have to cut out as much stuff. Now, I know I talked about how the timeline is going to be more linear in my explaining the timeline of season 1 video, but I want to talk about more in detail the things she's talked about with season 2 in regards to how it's going to be more linear, because I know a lot of you didn't like how we were basically in 3 different time periods and it jumped around, and a lot of people just didn't understand where we were at in the timeline between certain scenes. So on season 2 and timelines, this is what Lauren said. "The timelines were done mostly so we could follow Geralt's story at the same time we were following Yennefer's and Ciri's story. What we've done by the end of season 1 is bring everyone onto the same timeline, and their stories will start to intersect a lot more. I personally was sad that the timelines weren't received as well as I hoped they would have been. I think they're fun, but I think the audience lucked out a lot because in season 2, those were already gone anyway. So I do think that it's going to be an easier season to follow, but I think more than that, the storytelling is a lot more focused." So yeah, I completely feel for you if the timelines were confusing for you in season 1. If you had not read the books, or even to a certain degree played the video games, it would have been really confusing. Once I took a step back from that, because I didn't think there was any problem with the timelines, I understood what was going on, and then I had enough of you guys, my beautiful, wonderful subscribers, go, "No, this is why the timelines were confusing." And I was like, oh shit, you're absolutely right. And that was a flaw in how she did the timelines in season 1, because you shouldn't expect someone to know the source material to be able to follow a storyline. That's just super shitty. She talked a little bit more about season 2 and its storyline, so here are a few more quotes just in case you're still a little nervous. "What's great about season 2, I can tell you, is that in what we've written, the story becomes much more focused. There's a stronger drive in the story because all of the relationships that we've been setting up in season 1 actually start to come into fruition in season 2. Characters start meeting and interacting more. That goes well sometimes. It doesn't go well sometimes, but it's kind of like all these building blocks that were set up for the world finally start to come together into something a little more concrete. Interestingly, she also spoke a little bit about Jaskier in season 2 and what we can expect out of him. So this is what she said on Jaskier. One of my favorite moments with Jaskier is from episode 106, when he and Geralt are sitting on the cliff's edge and he says, "I'm thinking about what pleases me. You have this character who has quite literally attached himself to the coattails of our Witcher in order to rustle up material for songs. But what happens instead is, he finds a friend." Jaskier starts to think about what he needs and wants in the world, and in season 2, we'll see him begin to discover it. On top of that, we're also going to see the family dynamic between Geralt and Ciri, because they're strangers to each other, and even though they were destined for each other, it's a relationship that has to be built up. So on that, she said, "As expected from the saga, Ciri really takes center stage in season 2. The whole world is after her, and she has to find safety and respite with Geralt and eventually Yennefer. Problem is, they're complete strangers. She doesn't know Geralt, doesn't see why she should automatically trust him, and really doesn't love when he starts making big decisions in her life, especially when she's still mourning the loss of her grandmother in Cintron. For his part, Geralt dutifully wants to protect Ciri, but also doesn't know anything about being a dad, and certainly doesn't know how to balance that with the need to continue doing his job. There's some comedy in how these two come together and eventually bond, but that belies a deeper reflection on what it means to become a family. You'll learn a lot more about Geralt. You'll get to know where he came from and why he is the person he is in season 1. With Ciri, she's not looking backwards anymore or looking back at her family and Cintron anymore. She's trying to build a new family. And Yennefer is going to be dealing with the Battle of Sodden. She took a big risk at the end with that firepower, and it doesn't work out so well for her. If you've read the books, you know that Yennefer was blinded during this battle. She was blinded a little bit different, but the showrunner said yes, she was blinded from doing that, and you will see it be more apparent in season 2. As for Geralt and Ciri learning to work together, I really don't like the bratty kid rebelling against the new father figure, so I don't know if I necessarily want that, but you already see that a lot with Ciri in the book, so I guess but I didn't like those parts in the book either, where she's like, "Oh, you're telling me what to do, and I'm thinking about rebelling." It's like, girl, they're trying to keep you alive, like, calm your shit. So I don't know, I guess we'll see. I hope it's not too annoying and it's not cliche, stereotypical Ciri being a freaking little brat in the show, because I'll lose my mind. They did age her up in the show, so maybe we won't have as much of that. Lauren also talked about how we're going to be focusing more on non-humans in season 2 and the issues with that, because as you know in the books, there's a lot of issues between the different races. Finally, let's talk about Mark Hamill potentially playing Vesemir. I know. I'm so excited too. So there was a Twitter thread talking about maybe Mark Hamill playing the character, and Mark Hamill responded, "I have no idea what this is or what it's about, but I agree it should be played by me." Then IGN, of course, picked it up, and Mark Hamill responded to that, "I still have no idea what this is or what it's about, but I do know they haven't ever asked me to play Vesemir. Yet. #CallMyAgent." So Mark Hamill seems completely on board, even though he is not familiar with the Witcher series, unless he's trolling. Mark does like to troll. Well, Lauren actually responded to Mark doing the whole #CallMyAgent. It was one of those first Witcher moments for me where I was like, oh my god, is this even possible? That Mark Hamill knows what this is and would be interested in doing that? Mark has always been of interest to me and interest to the project. We have not contacted his agent yet because we're not casting the role quite yet. But that being said, I'm loving what's happening on the internet, and I'm loving all of the fan reaction to it. Obviously, we've seen what a huge fan base The Witcher has, and to add that to a Star Wars fan base, it makes my mind explode a little. Please God, Lauren, get Mark Hamill. Pay that man whatever he wants. He was meant to play this role. Everybody, it is now your sworn duty to do everything you can. Twitter campaign, Facebook campaign, regular campaigns outside of Netflix's headquarters. Get Mark Hamill in The Witcher. I'm fucking serious. This isn't a game.